what is depression? How can we help to deal with depression? Does everybody get depression? What is this thing that sort of takes hold of everything, your consciousness, and sends you on a tailspin? I've dealt with it my entire life. It certainly is a lot less frequent now that I am so busy. So I would say the number one most amazing antidote to depression is to be very busy, because you don't have time to get into your head. But that can also prevent you from growing. And I think, put that information together. But that's essentially what depression is. Now, there can be different things that are the catalyst to depression. So it can be, major failures, things like going bankrupt, losing your house, losing a job, losing a loved one, having your family fall apart, really not understanding your life's purpose, not feeling great about your health. Maybe you have massive health issues. I mean, there's a million things that can make you feel depressed. And those are, if it's a depression that is created from something like a life event or something that you're going through, a loss, well, then you need to go through the stages of grief, and then you need to basically design a plan to get through that depression. But sometimes you just feel out of sorts, and there's not really anything specifically traumatic that has happened, and it's just this pervasive melancholy, or it can just feel like everything is very dull and you're not excited by life. And that is something that a lot of people will experience in their lifetime. They might not experience it, often, but, usually within each and every lifetime, you're going to come across some sort of depression or depressive symptoms or depressive episodes. So how do you deal with them, or what is the purpose, or how can you utilize them to essentially get to a higher plane? You have to allow whatever's going on to be. You can't, like a spoiled brat, demand your way out of it or be irritable about it. I mean, you can be those things, but that's not really going to fix it. I've found that you have to kind of go into analysis mode, and it's, this is whether you call it the dark night of the soul or whatever you want to call it. It's really where you have to get back to basics and start to unravel every time it comes up a little bit more deeply who and what you're meant to be, and what your calling is, and what your perfect story line looks like. Because again, if you're not satisfied with what's going on in your life, you have to make changes to make whatever that is better. And depression is usually indicating that you need to move forward, put a plan in place, change something about the way you're living, because the way you're living isn't bringing you joy. And staying busy or taking on 1,000 projects or whatever it may be, preventing yourself from really, moving forward towards the real work you have to do, it's just going to prolong the inevitable. You're just going to end up cycling back to where you were, not feeling happy with yourself. So anytime you're in a depressive state, it's an opportunity for you to really learn about who you are and what makes you happy, and to ask those really deep questions about, what do I want to experience in this lifetime? What is going to make me happy? If you get 100, 70, 50, 40 years left, what is it that you want to do in that time period that is your absolute must? What do you want to experience? What's going to bring you joy? And, what is your soul's purpose? And you've got to write it down. You've got to think about it. You've got to cry about it. You've got to feel about it. Because the thing is, if you don't have this sort of gnawing, depressive compression that forces you to look at yourself, you're not going to grow. If everything was always sunshine and rainbows every single day, we would not grow. We would just be little bunny rabbits, hopping around, happy all day long, hopping with no goals. And so part of the mechanism of the darkness, the depression, the anxiety, all of the things that really do feel extremely uncomfortable, the purpose of those things is to catapult you into an energy of self-discovery, where you are forced to, knock your head against the wall and say, how do I fix this? How do I fix this? Why do I feel so broken? Why do I feel so lost? Why do I keep falling into the same habits, making the same mistakes? Like what is it about what I am doing and how I'm showing up and how I'm presenting myself that is not working for me? Because at the end of the day, the only one that can make you happy in life is yourself, and it is a solo journey. You've got to figure it out. You have got to do the work. You've got to put in the time, and if you're feeling shitty, uncomfortable, all those things, you can't jettison the blame to the external world. It is a you job. It's something that you've got to take a good long look at, and you've got to start with the basics. What brings you joy? What are your talents? When I have my paints out and I'm painting or sculpting, making a sculpture, listening to music, just free, I'm happy. Generally, maybe I'm in a bad mood and I'm painting something kind of dark, but I still kind of feel alive. I feel like, there's a purpose. Or when I'm, creating something like a new skincare line or a clothing line, whatever it is, if I'm creative, if I'm in my creative energy, even if it's like a darker creative energy, I still kind of feel like I'm in my own skin. It's when I have to deal with the things that I don't like doing. So, spreadsheets, customer service, things that are mundane, that actually, if you asked a kid to do them, they'd be like, oh, wow, this is the most boring stuff in the world. Well, it doesn't really change when you're an adult. Like, the stuff that is boring when you're a kid is boring when you're an adult. And yeah, you have to do it because you have to exist in the social matrix, and it's a requirement for, I guess, success and, having all the things we need to have. But then that draws into question, do we need all the things that we think we need to be happy, right? Those deeper questions start to permeate our mental construct. And then you start to think, like, is all of this stuff I'm doing that I don't like worth that car or that house or that expensive purse? Maybe not. Or let's look at the flip side of that. Maybe you feel like you're willing to put your morals on the line to get some of those things. Maybe you're a man, maybe you're a woman. This tends to be something that women do, where they will like sell themselves because some man will buy them things. So they'll get a purse or a shopping spree or some clothes, or maybe their rent paid. I know a lot of women like that. And they're willing to give their time, their attentions, their essence for that stuff. Why? That's going to make you unhappy. No material thing is ever going to fill your soul and your heart. Yet you're willing to sell your morals. So you're willing, as a woman, and there are men that do it too, right? But it tends to be a woman thing. So I see these women, and they're willing to like hang out with guys that they would never ever talk to. Maybe some of these guys are really smart. I'm not saying that these guys aren't smart or they're not attractive enough. But the other thing is the guy, here's the other problem. The guy's not hanging out with these women because they love their heart or they think that they have a beautiful mind. They're superficial too. So both sides, the reflection is there. The superficial guy that's just looking at the exterior is getting the idiot girl that just wants to use him for his stuff. And they both are kind of empty vessels, meandering around their existence, never really getting a real deep connection. And then they wonder why they're depressed. They wonder why they have no self-esteem, right? It's like, well, they're not looking in the right place. They're not looking to go deep, to be vulnerable, to expect more. And in a certain regard, it's because they're acting from a shallow place. When you're acting from a shallow place, you're going to get a very shallow, unfulfilled relationship. It is what it is. But then you can't or you can. I mean, you can feel depressed about it. You can feel devalued. You can feel like you're not seen, heard, whatever, from whether it is the masculine or the feminine perspective. But that's what you caused, because that's what you chased, because that's what you were. So that's what was reflected back to you. And so, again, whatever you are is going to be reflected back to you by the world. And however you are showing up, that's what you're going to attract. And the depression part of it, the anxiety, the depression, all of that stuff, that's your higher self saying, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? Are you happy? Is this good? Is this serving your higher purpose? Or are you just killing time? Or worse, are you not just killing time? Are you devaluing your divine value? Are you just devaluing everything God's given to you, and you're cheapening your worth? For what? For what? Some stuff? A nice pair of shoes, some high heels, a fancy bag that has some logos on it? A car? Really? I don't know. I'd say you'd be better off to go work hard so you feel proud about yourself. You know, work a couple jobs. You're going to be tired, but you're going to have great work ethic. And when you go to wear those shoes or you're carrying around that bag, you feel really good about it because you know what? You bought it. And it means far more when it's something that you have earned yourself, that wasn't just like given to you, right? Then you respect things. Then you have respect for the things that you have because you created them. It was you that earned them. It's like when I walk into my house that I bought, that's my house. I'm going to take care of it. I'm going to clean it. I'm going to have the yard perfect. I'm going to, you know, if I bought that coat or if I bought that car, I'm going to detail that car because I actually understand all the love and attention and dedication that it took to get me to where I am, to be able to hold my head up high as a woman and say, I did that. I did that on my own, for me, due to my own intelligence, my own hard work, everything else. So again, it all comes back to what we want to create, who we want to be, what we want to send out to the universe. And sometimes the best thing you can do is just do something or do nothing. And that's kind of strange because the beginning part of this day, I did nothing, and that was okay. That's what I needed. And then I got to a zone where I had to do something, and that was making these videos. And now I actually feel a lot better. It's just being where you're at in every moment and being authentic to that moment and not worrying about it. Tomorrow's a new day. Today's where you need to be. And it's good. It's good enough for me.